been doing this, and this is the joy of the technology, the data. We're taking their data and they're seeing it and they're learning.
Welcome to Entertain Me, hosted by Roberto Capodieci, where we bridge the worlds of new and old technologies, meet extraordinary individuals, revisit visions of the future, and celebrate the connections between technology and life. You're now listening to Cool Smart People.
Does not compute. Does not compute.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Entertain Me. Today we have somebody that has applied technology to something that is more traditional like medicine, and is Kyle Rootsaert is our guest. He has an amazing story. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thanks for having me, Roberto. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. And so you used to be a pharmacist, right? So you were staying, I don't know, where, Walgreens or somewhere where people sell medicine to customers that come in there, right? How long you been doing this work?
Was in retail pharmacy when I kind of realized where I needed to take my career. So I'm working in like an independent retail pharmacy that eventually got pushed out by Caremark. And all the patients went to CVS. So we're this tiny little pharmacy. You don't see these anymore. The little mom pop pharmacy on a street corner.
Okay.
Independent pharmacy. Okay. Small pharmacy in a rural town.
It is something that I saw that is happening everywhere around the world. And those big conglomerate come and they bring people out of business. They have so many commercial advantages compared to the small shop that is hard, if not impossible, to compete.
Very
all right. And you had a passion for technology on your own, or you developed this when the pharmacy was an option?
No, the problem kind of came to my understanding when a patient came to the window and was like, hey, I'm diabetic. And I'm like, all right. Okay, what are you supposed to eat? And I'm like, I don't know. I, as a pharmacist, should know. So I don't like saying, I don't know. When somebody asks you a question, you're the pharmacist, you should have an answer. And I was like, I really don't know. Like, I know you're supposed to be careful. I couldn't tell a carb from a protein from a fat because as a pharmacist, they come in vials, right? They come in containers. Like, you don't think about food as something that you eat. Like, pharmacists are specialized in intravenous nutrition, right? We understand that kind of stuff. Well, we can do the math on that kind of. But when it comes to like telling people what actually to eat, I was like, man, I really don't know. And I was like, I got to get back to you on that one. And then I realized that there was no time between the patient and the doctor. I didn't realize that they only spend just a few minutes. And diabetes is so all-encompassing. You have like half the population is either pre-diabetic or diabetic. There is a lot of education that needs to happen. It's insane how much of your life, everything that you do affects your diabetes, this disease. So I was just like, I got to help these people. This is crazy. They need something, whatever the heck it is. So that's when I realized that there was a program where they get 8 hours of education. And it's all about complication of diabetes. It's all to scare people into compliance is really what it is. But they don't give them the tools that they need to fix it. So here I was suggesting to patients that in order to see how a food would affect you, you need to stick yourself. So you're doing blood samples. You're using the technology of the day, which is just a finger stick. It's a photograph of what time. Yeah, it's the problem with that technology is it's a snapshot in time. It doesn't tell me where you're trending. Are you going up? Are you going down? In order to make a line, you need 2 points. Okay. Right? As a diabetic,
I think if you look at the level of sugar, you look at the level of insulin, you look at those things in somebody, and you don't do it in a constant manner. You end up this life in looking at the stock market, looking only morning and evening without knowing what happened during the day, right?
Exactly.
So what you need is really a measurement every minute or every cycle.
Yeah, so I started telling patients, hey, you need to find out if a food's good. You got to stick around the meal. So you're sticking at baseline before you eat it. You're sticking an hour later, an hour and a half, 2 hours later, like, okay, this hurts. This hurts. Sticking around your man. Trust me, diabetic as a human pincushion, they hate their fingers. That's all they're doing is hurting themselves. It's awful. So in order to get a line, but it wasn't really until the continuous glucose monitor came out that I was like, oh, wow, now we can make some changes. Because now we're going from photographs to the whole movie, right?
Right.
Now we're seeing everything. Because before, we used to stick ourselves in the morning. And we would call that your fasting insulin. That's the lowest that's your fasting glucose. That's the lowest glucose of the day. Well, it's not. It's typically, you know what? It's the highest glucose of the day.
Okay.
And the reason is 30 minutes before you get up every day, you release a hormone called cortisol that makes your blood sugar. Right, it's part of your normal circadian rhythm. It's part of your normal ebb and flow to get you up and going.
Right. So what you're saying, just once in a while measurement is hard to give a correct overview of the flow inside somebody. And then you notice that these new technologies like those smart rings that keep reading details.
Oh, man, I love this stuff. Yes. So what I've been geeking out on and having a really fun time geeking out on it is looking at people's data. And how can I make sense of the data? What does this data mean? So, okay, for example, let's just put it this way. Okay, so a little bit of a background to this whole thing is metabolic syndrome is something that like 93% of our population suffers from some aspect of it. So they're all walking around with insulin resistance. The doctor will even tell you, you got insulin resistance. But what does it mean? What does it look like? Okay, what is it? On a lab slip, it looks like an elevated fasting insulin. Okay. Makes sense. Insulin resistance is kind of like almost like a drug tolerance thing. You become resistant to the drug itself. So the more insulin that you have, the more resistance that you have. The more carbohydrates that you eat, the more insulin that you have. Hence, carbs increase insulin, increases insulin resistance, causes this metabolic syndrome, which is what 93% of our population. I just gave you the secret to all of this. It's insulin. It's a hormonal imbalance. So when you control glucose and you keep glucose nice and low, insulin levels drop. Insulin resistance goes away. People lose weight automatically. Blood pressure normalizes. Diabetes goes away. I've been doing this, and this is the joy of the technology, the data. We're taking their data and they're seeing it and they're learning. They're learning what oatmeal does. They're not trusting the dietitian that's telling them that this is healthy. Whole grains are healthy. I don't care what you say. Measure. Give me your glucose numbers.
Yeah, yes, this is good because it can be an individual different manner to deal with the intake of different things. Obviously, there are things that are generally bad or generally good, but maybe person to person we can have a different reaction. So the measuring individually how we react to things, how our body manages the intake of things is a good way to know what to do in a more practical way.
There's so many factors that go into your response. Yes, everybody is metabolically different. We are all different, but how do you know? How do you manage a glucose problem if you're not measuring glucose? And here's the other thing. Diabetes is a glucose problem. Let's just look at it the most simplistic way possible. It's a glucose problem. And glucose levels rise if you're diabetic. Okay, whatever. Don't eat the glucose. Don't eat the carbs. That's how we treated it before we invented insulin. We invent insulin. Now it's okay? Really? Because when I went to school and when your doctor went to school, he said that insulin was part of treatment to lower blood sugar. They didn't tell you that it was the most important hormone when it comes to fat storage and fat and energy utilization. How did you gloss over that? How did you skip that? Right? So the safest way to help people with these problems is to get glucose down. And there are new metrics, there are new numbers. We can look at variability. How much does your blood sugar fluctuate? That's a whole new metric. Glucose variability, GV, right? Or how much time are you in that range? It's not just what is your 3-month average, which is what we're doing now, which is absolute nonsense. Why would I want that piece of information when I could have, instead of a 3-month average, essentially, I could have a minute to minute. Every 5 minutes, 300 finger sticks in one day.
Right.
So much information.
And there is technology that can achieve this.
Yeah, it's okay. So it's interstitial fluid. So there's a small little sensor, like the size of a fishing line, like a monofilament. On the end of it is the glucose sensor, and that is in between your cells. It's not in a vein, right? So when you do a sample, right, that's your venous blood glucose, and that's pretty responsive, right? That happens very quickly. Within 15 minutes, you got a blood. Right? So this is a little bit longer. It's going to go on the back of your arm. I put it on my belly. You can put it on your thigh. And it's constantly sensing. And it's updating and it's downloading to your phone. And that data, now you think about how useful this data is.
Right.
I mean, you could tweak your food. You could tweak your lifestyle. You can tweak everything to bring glucose into a normal range. Stress jacks up your blood sugar. Cortisol, anger, frustration, right? All these things will raise glucose. I had a lady that was, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why is your blood sugar going up when you get home from work around 5:30? Like, I need you. Right. Okay. So like going home to the family, you got it, right? So it's like, if you're eating, you need to push. She goes, no, I'm going home to my son. And we're at odds right now. Like, you could see it. It'll go up 100. It'll go from normal to 200. And that's just stress. So now, now imagine how meaningful that is to know that.
Okay. So let me get with you that how you were a pharmacist, you see some pattern in patients that have a certain issue. And you see these patterns, and then when you're no more pharmacist, you say, let's devote myself into looking at this data. Yeah. And then you start looking at data and getting more people that provide you the data. And at this point, you see better patterns, how the process was.
The patterns of all of this, I will just let you in on this. And it's really simple. It's chronic disease. If you have chronic disease, you are essentially a victim of the USDA subsidized crops. Okay? You think about what they want. They want you sick. So if you're eating those subsidized crops, I know I'm going out on a limb here, but that's wheat, major source of carbohydrates in our diet. A massive source. Don't forget, like our diet is 60 to 70% carbohydrates. And, the American Diabetes Association will say, as long as you balance everything, right? So these are the patterns. You see chronic disease in people, and the first thing that I think about, what's your insulin level?
Change diet.
How much insulin resistance do you have? What is your number? You have a number. Give me that number. Why aren't we measuring? Why isn't it covered by your insurance? Why does the ADA say don't measure? So if you want to know the trend between one person and another, it's insulin. It is insulin resistant. So if you were to measure that, so that was the trend that I saw. And I saw that when I put glucose monitors on these patients, their blood sugar would be just skyrocketing. And then when I helped them see, based on the foods that they were eating, that this is what was responsible for that spike. Then they made this change and they got healthier. And it's not just in some of them, because when I was doing this diabetes clinic, it was like, we needed a gong. Oh, one less diabetic in the world. We had a clinic and I was monitoring these people remotely using this amazing technology. This is what I did first. And then I started getting into the smart rings. And that's when I was like, how can I, as a pharmacist, continue on with this misinformation campaign, which is eat less, move more. If you move more, you're going to eat more. You're going to be hungry.
Right. Exactly.
Right? No, because you're building muscle, right? You start moving more, you go to the gym and your body starts compensating, right? We got to stop measuring the number on the scale and start looking at fat mass. We're trying to lose fat mass. This is about losing fat. This is how health, basically, this is what happens. When you lower glucose, there is an alternative energy fuel for the brain. It's called ketones. And your brain loves it. And what it is, it's just little pieces of fat. And it's escaping you. It's in my breath. It's in my urine. I'm losing 300 to 500 calories a day. I'm just wasting it because it's kind of like a steam kettle. And you burn all this extra energy in these fat cells. And they're like, hey, have a heyday. Let's burn all this stuff. Let's burn all these oak logs, right? And it just starts burn. And they're oak logs. They're fat logs, not kindling glucose log. And it just starts burning and like steam, it just starts letting it off. And it's just escaping you, right? It's little pieces of fat. And it has about the same calories as a carbohydrate, as a glucose. It's like a 4-carbon ring. Glucose is a 6-carbon ring. But in order to get this basically blowover of fat burning, to get these ketones to go up, you got to bring glucose down. It's the only way it'll happen. And when you do that, you bring insulin down. So stress, anything that raises glucose, raises insulin. Anything that raises insulin makes us overweight. It makes us hypertensive. It makes us diabetic. You'll also see triglycerides and HDL. You'll have a high triglyceride and a low HDL. That is not a favorable cholesterol profile. And it's not about the LDL. The LDL is a lie. That is a scam. Those statins are there to hurt us.
Reading the numbers, right, with the smart rings, for example, that has this capacity to give a constant flow of information. And you look at this number and then you can help these patients to practically get better. But to automate the process, then you need to feed this number to a sort of an algorithm or something that automatically produce a result. So what is your goal with these things? A smart ring, so technology is a smart ring.
Yeah, well, what we're talking about, this smart ring that we're talking about measures stress. Stress affects metabolism. So the stress, which is the ring and the watch, right? You can measure that. And then you have this continuous glucose monitor. You can see the metabolic response. And when you can connect these two together and you can go, my lifestyle is affecting my metabolism this way. So when I go to bed on time, I get this sleep score. My glucose level is lower the next day. And this is what happens. My objective as a diabetes educator and pharmacist is to educate the patient in real time. I want you to learn that. I want you to learn it right now. I want you to see it. I want to point it out to you. So for me to do that, when I was doing the diabetes clinic, there's a lot of your thumbs can only go so fast, right?
Right.
So why? Because you're like, hey, did you see what you just ate 20 minutes ago? Like, it's hard. It's a lot of work. You can't cover a lot of patients. So that's why I was like, why can't AI learn these patients? Why can't we use this technology for the technology to learn what your metabolic response is to your lifestyle response with the sole purpose to just educate? I want you to see how fighting or anger or poor sleep or sleep apnea is so common. How these things are affecting your metabolism, how they're making your glucose level go up, how this stress is raising your cortisol. You can't afford to raise cortisol. Cortisol is a wicked stress hormone. It will dissolve your muscles, put it right here in your belly, right? And it's all driven by stress. And our belly fat, unfortunately, dudes, pay attention. You stretch these cells, become very, they die. If they stretch too much, these fat cells, and that's what hypertrophic visceral fat cells do. Subcutaneous, like in your arms, women having butts, boobs, right? They got lots of subcutaneous fat. Bunch of small little inert, essentially healthy fat cells. You may not like it, but it's in the places that it's safe. Is your fat in a safe place? Do you have enough small, healthy fat cells? Or is stress from your lifestyle, and that is measurable, is it making you fat? Is it killing you? You wouldn't know unless you measured. And you would have to measure cortisol. And it's, again, not a covered lab. Why isn't insulin a covered lab? Because the ADA says don't measure it. When the AHA and the ADA says something like that, or you need to be diabetic to measure glucose, you should be very suspicious.
Right. Don't tell me what not to measure. But so the idea is, it is a smart ringer for the stress. It is a glucose measurement with just this power of doing like 300 readings in a day. And this data is fed through maybe Bluetooth to your cell phone, from the cell phone to an AI that make an analysis and get back to the person suggestion or annotations. Maybe asking, so what happened yesterday 11 in the morning that I saw a spike going up a bit, and start looking at this. I think, like every pirate had a pirate on their shoulders. So we're going to end up with an AI on our shoulder that works all day with us and probably is even witnessing the action of eating water, of fighting with who for what, to get set with something. And can keep a track on a lifestyle together with other measurement and pretty much telling us what to do, what not to do. Or don't touch the thing. Usually I heard something that when we are going to eat. I would love to have something like that reminds.
Are you being honest with me? Are you being honest? Because your ring says otherwise, right? You know what I mean? So am I stressing you out? Right? My wife would I do this all the time. Like, okay, so why is it between 4 and 6? I have this high stress mode. Oh, okay. Well, that was when I don't know. So, and it was amazing. So if you know that your wife, your spouse, whoever, your significant other didn't have a good night's rest, and their sleep score out of 100 is a 55, and you're a 95, well, you better give them some grace, right? You got to give them a little bit of space and say, hey, she didn't sleep well, right? Or the oxygen saturation was really low. And because of that, now she's going to have a rough day. She's going to feel it. She's cravings are going to be higher. She's going to be craving the wrong foods all day long. A nap's not going to help her. She needs to go to bed at the right time. She needs to go for a walk. Like, there's all these levers essentially that you can pull on lifestyle and nutrition and timing of food and all that kind of stuff to be able to really maximize the health outcomes. Insulin resistance is the problem. This is type 2 diabetes. You have to bring insulin down, okay? The only tool that I know, until we have an insulin monitor, is measuring this glucose continuously.
Right.
This is to me the game changer, but I've struggled as a diabetes educator to put it all together. Because I really wanted you to see, here's sleep score, right? Here's sleep score at the bottom, right? And here's your glucose the next day. I want you to see that. I want you to my sole purpose is for you to be educated and you go, oh, wait a minute. I just got to notice, oh, look what just happened. Oh, here it is. Oh, look. Oh, and as it's happening, you're realizing it. And you're going, hey, my blood sugar just skyrocketed. It tells me I should go for a walk. I'm going to go for a walk. And you slowly bring your sugar down. I mean, think about the outcomes, right? You can't manage it. You're not measuring.
It is knowledge obviously is always the half of the goal, because how knowledge that you can act on it. I think sometimes sugar is also something that creates addiction, right? Because it's really behaving like any addictive drugs. So
that's a hard one to see because you don't see fructose, you see glucose. But fructose in excess is definitely a toxin that raises your insulin level. It causes insulin resistance. It's wicked stuff. It's toxic. Should never have been allowed in our diet. And that's the hard part. Now, how do we take it back? Oh, we got to balance it. No, the amount of sugar that you need is actually 0. The amount of carbohydrates that you need is actually 0. And that's what a lot of people are confused on. They're like, wait a minute, I thought carbs were brain food. No, actually, The brain can only run on two fuels. It's glucose or ketones. Let the brain run on ketones and you'll never worry about Alzheimer's disease. You'll never worry.
It is a lot of this keto diet that is being promoted, and I notice a lot of people that does it so enthusiastic that it becomes a sort of a religion kind of thing. So you need to involve other like this into probably the benefit. All right. There is those, they call it Paleolithic diet because it's all meat-based or ferment.
I don't care. I don't care what you do. Just measure.
Just exactly. I think there is a good take on the aspect. The knowing is halfway there in order to solve the problem. So what you propose, I mean, like, what you're gonna bring to the people with this knowledge of technology and knowledge of medicine?
Yeah, I really honestly believe that this is the future of medicine. The military is already doing this. They've been doing this for a while. But bringing all the data together, and I'm hoping to expand the sensor market as well as how many different sensor products can we get, right? What's next? Is it ketones? Is it lactate? Is it, we do have ethanol. Like, as much data as is possible is the goal. And let's put it together in something that's meaningful and let AI make suggestions as like a virtual health assistant. Let them offer you a suggestion, a call to action that you can do right now. Not at the end of the day, not after it's, or not like a month later, a week later. Like, no, I want you to know right now what I should be doing right now based on your data, your results. So I'm just there to just guide them as I'm trying to do this whole time. It's just coach people along the way and just point out the lessons that I think are valuable, right? Like when you eat this, your blood sugar goes up and then it goes down. That's why you're hungry. I want to point that out to you so you avoid the spike in the first place, right? So it's all about patient education. Those people that are the most educated have the best outcomes. They really, really do. It's impossible to ignore what I just said. It really is. It's impossible to go, next time I have a cookie, I'm not going to think about that Kyle, that pharmacist guy that went on and on and on about insulin, right? Trust me, it gets in people's heads. And those around me, they lose a lot of weight. It's not uncommon for, like, I think my son's lost 60 pounds. My nephew lost 80 pounds. A lot of people during COVID lost at least 60, quite a few with 60 to 80 pounds. It works on Homo sapiens. It really, you have to know. You have to see it. You have to see the oatmeal. I really want people to see it. And you got to ask yourself, do I need this bump? Because every time I bump, I'm in storage. I am in anabolic storage mode. The demolition crew is not going to show up to burn that fat. If the glucose is in my diet, if the carbs are in my diet, I will not access that fat until that.
It is very, very sugary and carb-ridden breakfasts that are suggested are probably not a good. So it's better to fried eggs and a sausage.
It's not your fault. It literally is. It's nobody's fault. We're all just victims. And unfortunately, our doctor, he's the responsible one. But this is not, like I said, insulin we thought was treatment.
Right. What is actually
not the most important hormone. Not the hormone that goes up in everybody with diabetes. They didn't bother telling you that.
Okay, I would say that this is surely an amazing insight, an amazing, interesting take that comes out from your experience and analyzing and looking at these things. What do you want to leave, people watching you with? What is your message?
Man, I think first and foremost, I think we're all victims. This is really, I'll borrow Ken Berry's expression here. It's not your fault, but it's still your problem. Not knowing is what's killing us. And when my story goes back, I lost 50 pounds because I couldn't ignore this information. I couldn't say that's not important. I chased so many rabbits and I was like, hey, you know what? As a diabetes educator, if I'm not willing to walk the talk, don't bother. If you want to have a conviction about something that you're sharing with somebody, you got to walk the talk. And pricking yourself was awful. And there's no way that I'm going to sit there and tell people not to eat pizza and then just go and stuff it in my face in the break room, right? It's like everyone thought I was the diabetic pharmacist. I know I'm not diabetic. I just don't want to be, right? So that education to me was invaluable because people would come back to the pharmacy counter and they say, you know what? My doctor says whatever I'm doing is working. Okay? My A1C's down, my triglycerides are down, my lipids look better, my blood pressure, like I'm getting off these meds. It's like, yeah, that's actually the response I expect. And that is the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. And that is to help people. And that has been my goal. How can I help as many people as possible? The only way to do that is with an AI platform that can connect all these wearable sensor technology systems together into something meaningful in real time.
So Citizen Appeal, somebody working with AI married this idea and can start cooperating with you. We're going to have a doctor on our shoulder.
For sure. No, it's exciting stuff because it has to be the way of the future. You think about it, like, I'm trying to watch grandma. I know what's going on over there. I know if she's sleeping. I know what her heart rate is. I know if she's got a fever. Like, I can get a pulse on grandma remotely.
Right.
This has to be the future of medicine because not knowing, and especially if it's available, is really what's killing us.
Absolutely. Okay, so for the future of wearable and AI combined, I have here my Oura Ring, and it is for sure a very cute device with strange lights inside. Anyways, thank you again for being with us and sharing all this. For sure is tilting the brain of many people. I wonder if we're going to see something coming up soon to help us in these terms. And maybe we can touch base again in a few months.
I'd love to. I would love to. Have me on again. I would be thrilled.
Amazing. Thank you very much again.
You've been listening to Entertain Me, hosted by Roberto Capodieci. If you're not subscribed, you better smash that subscribe button now, or else your Wi-Fi might mysteriously slow down.